Okay, so firstly I have to apologise for not making a video for a long time. There's not much that's been happening, and I filled up all the memory on my phone, and it's a pain to get it off, like a video off my work phone onto anything to put it on YouTube, so that's my bad attempt at an explanation and an apology. So yeah, sorry about not making videos. Also sorry about the lighting. The sun is in a really awkward place at the moment. So this is mostly going to be a chest update, but I should probably talk a bit about testosterone and where things are at in terms of the future as well. I had periareolar top surgery with Mr. Andrew Yelland in Brighton on the 23rd of November 2015. So I'm about a year and just over a week post surgery. So this is where my chest is at now. It hasn't really changed much, probably in the last 6 months. That's obviously my better side, and that's the other side. The scars around the nipple are starting to fade quite nicely. They do show up worse in sort of the sunlight, but they're starting to blend in quite nicely in sort of more natural light. And when I look at them, same on this side, they're starting to sort of become skin coloured. So I wonder if in the future I'll feel more like I need to have some sort of tattooing to build the colour back up and kind of disguise what's going on this side. But for now I'm just really not bothered by it. Perfectly happy with my chest, really just enjoying not having to think about it or worry about it. I just can't believe that I used to spend like so much mental energy and time thinking about my chest. Yeah, it's just like lately I've been doing overtime at work, and that's something that I wouldn't have been able to do before because it would have just left me in too much pain. So I'm just really grateful for having the chest that I do, how it's turned out. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, it's impossible to imagine what it was like before for me now, because this is just so right and so normal. Yeah, it's definitely the thing that's made the biggest change in my life and had the biggest impact. It's because it means that I can do whatever I want without worrying about how long I've spent binding. Yeah, there's just a complete sense of freedom from, binders and constant worry, and just, it means that being trans isn't on my mind all the time, because I've never got to worry about people noticing something that obvious. Yeah, I never have to worry about what people think. If I get wet at work, if it rains a lot and I haven't had a coat on, then I can just change my shirt if I've got one spare, and I can be topless around people and have them not notice or question anything. I mean, maybe they do notice my nipple issue, but no one's ever said anything to me. I spent a lot of time this summer swimming. I was on a course for work for 3 weeks, and it was near the sea, and I think I went swimming 10, 11 times, never had anyone question anything. Yeah, it's just incredible sort of how much of a difference it's made. I didn't think it would make that much difference to my life, but it has. So testosterone wise, I'm now a year and 9 months on testosterone. I have finally started to notice that I'm getting a little bit more facial hair on the sides. I doubt you'll be able to see it, but yeah, in the last couple of months I'm starting to get a little bit here on the other side. It's coming in a bit better under my chin, and it's gradually thickening out a bit more, sort of actually on my chin and my top lip. My chin and my top lip has always been the best places for hair to grow, and this sun keeps moving around and it's getting slightly awkward now. Starting to get a bit more chest hair, which I didn't have before. That's all happened since surgery. Other changes, I can't pinpoint these things, I'm not good at it. It's just not something that I think about in my day-to-day life. Possibly my hairline's changed a bit, but that's something I'm quite pleased about, because I didn't like it before. Not noticed any other real hair loss. I know it's something that a lot of people worry about and isn't really spoken about that much. I can say that mine has stayed just as thick and just the same as it kind of always has been, sort of annoyingly thick. So in terms of the future and lower surgery and all that stuff, I was hoping I'd have something to say, sort of have a bit more progress to report on, but I haven't really got anywhere in terms of that. I was supposed to have another appointment with the Laurels last week, but there was a lot of flooding, and I couldn't make it, so I had to knock that on the head. I don't think I'd have got anywhere with it anyway. And what they want before they refer me for lower surgery is to have a permanent job. I have a job, which is great. I love it. At the moment, I have a temporary job role until a vacancy becomes available, which means that I'm going to have to go for an interview at some point in the near future when this vacancy gets put up, which it was supposed to do a couple of weeks ago. It hasn't been put up yet. Basically, they don't want to refer me before this interview, just in case they ask if I've got any upcoming surgery. I don't think they will ask me, but they might, and as hard as it is, I can see the logic. And I personally wouldn't want to go for surgery before getting this job, just so they can't possibly use it against me, because I desperately need this job, not just for surgery, but also because I want to buy a house. And I really want that security of having a permanent job of my own and not sharing a job role with someone else. So I've got a lot riding on getting this job, and I don't think I'm going to get it, but we're just going to have to see. And if it doesn't work out, see where things go from there and how to play that. So yeah, for now everything lower surgery is kind of on hold. There's not much I can do apart from wait for this job to come up and hopefully get it. Do my best to get it. And in terms of what lower surgery I'll go for when I finally get it, I think I've come to a point where I've decided that although I would love the size from phalloplasty, and I might struggle with the size that I have from metoidioplasty, and feel a bit self-conscious about it, I think it is the right way for me to go. There's just so much that I personally class as a downside in regards to phalloplasty. I don't think the one pro of the size is enough to outweigh it for me. There is always the option of going for a phalloplasty later if I have metoidioplasty and I just can't cope with it. I really don't want to go down that route because it is another, say, 3 extra surgeries, 2, 3, maybe 4 extra surgeries to have a phalloplasty after a metoidioplasty. So it's really not a path that I want to go down, but it is an option if all else fails. But there's a lot of things that I prefer about metoidioplasty. The natural erections, the foreskin, that it feels a bit more mine rather than surgically constructed. And there's a lot of things that worry me a lot about phalloplasty. The graft sites, whether it would have any impact on my arm, how I'd cope with not having erections at all, because I personally wouldn't go for an implant just because the lifespan of the implant means that I probably have to have a couple more surgeries to replace that in the future. And with the size of phalloplasty being constant, I think I prefer to have a smaller one, which might make it impossible to have implants anyway. The increased likelihood of issues sort of with the urethral extension to standard P and sort of dribbling afterwards and all that sort of stuff, just because we don't have the muscles throughout the urethra. One thing that concerns me is just what it's going to be like sort of if I'm in my 50s, 60s, because the techniques that you use now haven't been around that long, so no one has phalloplasty that old, if that makes sense. Forearm phalloplasty became popular in the 80s, which was only 30 years ago, so those penises have only been around for 30 years, but in some cases probably a bit longer if they were the first. But 30 years from now, I'm 50, so if I was to have forearm phalloplasty, I have no idea of knowing what my penis would be like when I'm 60 and how time affects it. It's hard enough to find information about people's transitions once they've been on testosterone, maybe 5 years. Some people are still around 10 years, but a lot of the time they just move on. And then within that, you've got the percentage of people who have phalloplasty, and it's really hard to find information on, and even harder to know what it's like a couple of years after they've finished all their surgeries. So that fear of the unknown really worries me with phalloplasty. Metoidoplasty is a newer technique. It worries me less because it's just a bit less, I don't know how to phrase this right. In metoidoplasty, the tissue is less rearranged, it's more consistent with what's naturally there. I can just see it having less risks over time, and changing less over time, just because it's using what's there already and not moving bits around quite as much. I mean, perhaps things won't change that much over time, regardless of technique, but perhaps it does, and that's just something that I don't think we can answer right now. And I don't like being the guinea pig for things. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now, a bit of a general ramble about things. Hopefully it makes some sense, hopefully it's interesting for anyone who's still interested in watching my videos. If there's anything you want me to talk about, I will try and make videos on it. It's easier to do so when I have a specific topic in mind to talk about. Yeah, anything else, just let me know. I might make a video sometime soon. Bye.